What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Monday edition of the Pandemic Update. For Monday, February 5th, 2024. We did not do a pandemic update yesterday afternoon. Instead, we did do yesterday morning that review of the long COVID study, which said 1 in 4 people who get COVID go on to develop long-term issues. And I figured, you know what? I also did a climate update on my other channel. I figured, let's give the pandemic update a day off, and then we'll come back and check in with things today. Well, my mistake. We should have done a pandemic update yesterday because this is going to be a long one. There's a lot of news today. We have the B&O update, we have Walgreens, and we must take a look at least a few wastewater sites. We're not going to go as crazy as we normally would on a Sunday. We'll probably spread it out throughout the week. So apologies if you were looking for the wastewater update yesterday, but today is a busy news day, and as you can see here, right off the bat, it starts off with news about King Charles. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and other things that could be a health threat to you, including influenza, measles, all these different viruses, and of course, something I consider to be a pandemic of its own, long COVID. It really is. It's time. We got to call long COVID a pandemic of its own. So if you like this type of content and you want to learn more, subscribe to my channel down below and give this a thumbs up. Alrighty, starting off today, some bad news out of Buckingham Palace over in England. King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer. Yes, late word came today in the evening. It's evening time over there right now. That King Charles does have cancer. Now, there's not saying what type of cancer, because it is saying that it is not prostate cancer, but was discovered during his recent treatment for an enlarged prostate, and that the type of cancer has not been revealed. But according to a palace statement, the king began regular treatments on Monday, and of course, this is going to complicate things because he's not going to be able to go about his daily schedule because he's starting treatment, and they want him to rest. So some of the public appearances that he was supposed to make are probably not going to happen at this point. So once again, that is King Charles III, diagnosed with cancer. This coming from Buckingham Palace over in England. Next, we found out that Slovak President Zuzana Kaputova has tested positive for COVID-19, which prompted her to cancel the last day of her visit to the United States on Sunday, according to information of a special correspondent in the United States on the same day, APA reports. So yes, the Slovak president has tested positive, and I'm assuming that she's probably going to have to go back to her country, but I am not seeing how that is going to be. But we do know, yet again, another president of another country has tested positive for COVID. Now we move on to this. This is not so good news. If you live in New York State, you're probably not too happy with Governor Kathy Hochul right now because she is taking away one of the measures of the pandemic, and that is, as cases surge, Governor Hochul moves to kill state-mandated COVID sick leave. That's right. So if you are an employee for a company, right now they were mandated to give you sick leave if you test positive. She's taking that away. And it does say as cases surge. We know New York State is dropping, but the point is, there's still a lot of people testing positive right now. This pandemic is not ending anytime soon. COVID waves are going to continue. We just came off the second biggest wave of the entire pandemic, which, in my opinion, if it's the second biggest wave ever of a virus, that still considers it to be a pandemic. It's not an endemic. It's not an endemic yet. It's just not at that phase yet. It's still a pandemic. I mean, how can you call it an endemic when it's the second biggest wave ever of its entire existence here in the United States? But here we are. The governor of New York is going to end the mandated sick leave. Yeah, this is not good. Continuing on here, Simon Cowell. You know him from many different things. He used to be on American Idol. He's been on many different talent shows. America's Got Talent. Well, there's also a Britain's Got Talent. Well, he had to pull out of Britain's Got Talent auditions at the last minute due to a painful illness. He is 64 years old at this time. We'll keep an eye on this to see if anything else comes out of that. All right, Jess tweeted this out. Meet Jess. You remember Meet Jess. We did Twitter Spaces with her on Twitter's several times, and well, she tweeted this out. She tweets wonderful things out, and sometimes I find some things that we talk about on here through stuff she has tweeted out. And she put the number of Brits off long-term sickness has hit a new record high in the wake of COVID. Some 2. Oh, wow, over 2.8 million people were in the category in the 3 months to November, according to revised official figures. This being over in the UK. So, yeah, wow, this is just not good at all. It just continues to show you this is really impacting things, and people just want to move on, forget about it, brush it underneath the rug, brush it under the rug, hide it, forget about it. You can't. The numbers do not lie. All right, moving on to this now, something I tweeted yesterday. Curiosity has got the better of me. Leave a reply or like if you are still doing the right thing and mask every day. Well, I've done this before in the past, and this time it's got 2.5 thousand likes. Now, I wasn't doing this to try and just get likes to grow my page. No, I was doing it because I want to see how many people on Twitter would come across this, hit like, and or say down below that, yeah, I am still doing the right thing. Get what I'm saying here? I want to see how many people on Twitter are still masking. These masks right here. It could even be the less effective ones. It doesn't matter if you're masking. You chimed in. And wow, there were also 406 comments. There were a lot of comments. Old-fashioned answers. Every damn day. Every time I walk out the door. Yes, you have to. I mean, on and on it goes. There were a lot of comments. We're not going to sit here and read all the comments, but the vast majority, I would say 90% that I looked at, I didn't look at them all. 90% say they do, and then of course, if you go way down to the bottom, you will find some of the trolls, which I've blocked some of them, and I'm sure there's more on there because I haven't checked for any more today. But yes, people are masking in all different types of high quality masks. This person left a picture that they are still masking. Thank you for that. It's just fantastic. As you can see here, Kimberly, look at this. Fantastic. I am so glad that you guys are still masking. You're doing the right thing because we are still on the backside of the second biggest wave ever. All right, moving on. We have a lot more things to get through. Taking a look now at the latest update from B&O News, and it's some good news, and then there's also some bad news. You know what that means. It's time to get the calculator out here because we have to talk about some deaths, unfortunately. First off, though, new cases, 248,733. The average is 301,282. States reporting 50 out of 50. Still good news. In the hospital, down 21,665. Still good news. Now we're running out of good news. In the ICU, 2,304. That's down by 144. Up. Good news ends there. Deaths. Let's enter it into our calculator. 2,570. And then when we come down here, that's bad. The average of deaths has gone up. That's really high. And you mean to tell me 2,570 deaths? And so many people are saying this is an endemic now and not reporting it on the news, brushing it under the carpet, just like it's just totally ridiculous. Let's keep coming down here. The breakdown for this week's case numbers. Reports from 22 states, estimates from 28 states. It says COVID cases are down from this winter's peak, but remain elevated across the U.S. Then we take a look at this, and this is just really ridiculous. This is the 5th week in a row with more than 2,000 new deaths, or 11,788 deaths combined. This is also the 21st week in a row with more than 1,000 new deaths, or more than 35,000 deaths during the same period. If you were out on the street and you walked up to someone and said, did you know, that's not masking, did you know there were over 2,000, or to be exact, 2,570 new deaths in the last week from COVID? They would have said, what? You're crazy. No way. They're not saying anything on the news. I don't need to mask anymore. COVID is over. No, I'm being pretty serious. There were 2,570 deaths just from COVID in the past week. Why aren't they saying anything on the news? That is horrible. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. I thought COVID was over. No, It's not over. They just refuse to talk about it in the news because it does not bring in ratings. If it doesn't bring in ratings, it's not a story that they're going to spend a lot of time talking about. You have a presidential election, you have war going on overseas, you have all these different things going on. They're not going to waste their time, or they're not going to spend, I shouldn't say waste of time, because it would not be a waste of time. They're not going to spend their time sitting there talking about COVID deaths. That's why you have someone like me that comes out and tells you what's going on. If you just learned that COVID deaths are still high and you did not know that, share this video right now. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you did not know that COVID deaths are still this high. Yeah, 11,788 deaths in the past 5 weeks. And guess what? I think next week will probably be over 2,000 as well, because this is the highest week yet during this wave. Or at least as far as I can see, it's the highest week yet. But we have to add to those deaths because we now have to talk about influenza. New cases, 2 million. Average is 2.5 million. That's dropping a little bit. Hospital admissions, 20,000. New deaths, another 1,000. So we add 1,000 to the COVID total, and we have 3,570 deaths just between COVID and flu. That doesn't include RSV and any other miscellaneous respiratory virus. So yes, there are still far too many deaths happening. Tell them that figure as well. Tell them that flu plus COVID is 3,570 right now. They will be shocked to hear that. And then when they come out and tell you, oh, well, they're just marking down COVID deaths as, they're just marking down flu deaths as COVID. No, that's not true. We told you what the COVID deaths are. These are additional deaths. These flu deaths are completely separate from COVID. Totally ridiculous. All right, we have to take a look at today's air quality values. When we take a look at the air quality today, you're going to see a mixed picture. And you know what? We may not actually be able to load this because this site has been freezing up on me. But what you're going, okay, here it comes. What you're going to see is it's pretty much a mixed bag. And of course, we do have some moderately poor air, not terribly concerned across the Great Lakes air qualities. Dallas, Texas, still some bad air quality for you. Not too bad on the I-95 corridor of the East Coast today, and of course on the West Coast. I don't think you're terribly concerned about the air quality today. You're concerned about the threat of flooding and everything else that is ongoing there. And the air qualities, let's be honest, they're not terrible in the West Coast today. All right, taking a look at this, yes, this is my channel, my other channel that I do for climate and weather. And we did do today's update. We updated on the West Coast storm, and we updated on a potential for a pattern change coming to the rest of the U.S. Yes, winter may make a brief return at the end of this month. If you want to learn more about that and a potential for severe weather this upcoming weekend in the South, subscribe to that channel down below. I'll put a little card down below. All right. Let's now come over to the Walgreens update next. Then we'll take a little bit of a look at wastewater and Walgreens. It's kind of a mixed picture here. You're seeing a bit more red on the maps, suggesting positivity rates in some states are starting to rise. We're only just going to take a look at a couple states today. We'll look at more states tomorrow. All right, the current week's positivity rate is 26.6%. The prior week was 27.3%. That's down 0.7%. Total test, 25,767. And the prior week was 26,006. So testing was down ever so slightly. The positivity rate's down ever so slightly. But of course, you do see some states that are bright red here. You also see a few that are bright green. Let's take a look at the state of Maine. In the great state of Maine, the positivity rate is 14.8%. That is down by 4.5%. Total tests are 54 versus 62. So testing down and positivity down, that means your cases are dropping. But you go right next door and you see New Hampshire. Positivity increased by 11% to 24.5% versus 13.5%. Total tests, 49 versus 52. That's not a huge decrease, but it is a decrease nonetheless. And I think it's a combination of lower testing and maybe a slight increase of cases. All right, Vermont. Vermont continues to see positivity rates rise. But this week, unlike last week, testing's down. It's just 11 tests versus 20. So the positivity rate comes in at 36.4% versus 20%. And wow, big increase, 26.4%. Now we have to come down to Louisiana. Look at this. Louisiana, the positivity rate is 30.5%. The prior week is 21.5%. Difference of up 8.9%. Total tests, 338 versus 288. Positivity rate up and testing up. That means cases are likely going up for you. And Wouldn't surprise me if that continues because Mardi Gras, I believe, is happening just next week down in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now let's take a look at what's going on in Nevada. Nevada, testing's up and positivity rate is up. 42.9% this week. The prior week was 32.3%. That's a difference of up 10.6%. 14 tests versus 31. So actually, testing is down for Nevada. But again, with such a big increase, I think we can safely say that part of the reason your positivity is up, you're probably also seeing cases rise as well. I do want to share some good news. I don't want to be all doom and gloom here, but here's some good news. Washington's positivity rate did drop by 12.2% this week to 29% versus 41%. That's with testing down as well. Remember, their positivity rate did go up last week, so we're glad to see this. 300 tests versus 352. Not happy to see testing down, but the fact that positivity dropped with that, that is a good thing. And Oregon, testing is up. 58 versus 45. The positivity rate is 20.7%. The prior week is 44.4%. That's a difference of down 23.8%. So that is good to see. And let's take a look at one more state. Illinois, 28% positivity this week. Prior week was 24.8%. That's a difference of up 3.3%. And yeah, testing's up as well. 1,284 tests versus 1,118, so that is a legitimate case rise. All right, let's take a look at, let's see here. Let's go to Wastewater Data now, and we're going to just use the wastewater scan site today, and we're going to go through just a few wastewater sites and see what's going on. We'll do a couple from each region, then we'll get on to the rest of the data that we have to look at. Let's take a look at Bridgeport, Connecticut and see what's going on there. And we can see in the Bridgeport, Stamford area, this is Stamford, Connecticut, you can see here, COVID levels are still high, but at this time they continue to drop, which is good to see. RSV was dropping, still is, but it's trying to level off a little bit. Still in the high category. Influenza is high, and wow, it's actually going up even higher. Taking a look at norovirus, high, it was dropping. Now it's leveled off and starting to rise once again. Continuing on here, let's go to another wastewater site. Let's come further south now. Let's go down and see what's going on in the Winston-Salem, North Carolina area. And we see in Winston-Salem that COVID at this time is high, but dropping. Influenza B at this time is high, and yeah, the overall trajectory is still rising for that. So if you're in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, be advised, there are still high levels of influenza at this time. Norovirus is still high, but it does look like it is getting ready to drop somewhat. Taking a look now, let's go down to Florida and see what's going on there. And how about we come down to Miami? If we can. There's been issues with Miami lately. Remember, the data has been, let's try a different wastewater site. A lot of the data here has been chopped off. All right, we're just going to skip over Miami. How about we come up and take a look instead at what's going on in eastern Orange County, Florida. Can we do that? Yes, we can. COVID is high at this time. It did look like it was going to drop, and then it just leveled off. It's been bouncing around, and it's still high. RSV at this time is high, but it is starting to drop. Influenza B is high, and yikes, it is rising once again. And look at this. Norovirus is continuing to rise higher. And wow, those are some really high norovirus levels at this time. No issues with Mpox at this time. Now let's come out to California. Yeah, let's go out to California and see what's going on there. And in California, we will take a look at Los Angeles. A reminder with the storms that are going on there, that alone could trigger things to set off. Maybe if someone has to go to shelters and there's a lot of people congregated together, that could be the potential for some surge as well, but not expecting anything major. COVID is low at this time, not rising. RSV is not rising. Influenza B, it's coming up high. You have to look really close. It actually is rising a little bit. HMPV is rising slightly at this time. And we can see there are no Mpox issues at this time. Let's do one more wastewater stop. And I say, how about we take a look at Las Vegas? We'll do Las Vegas now, and then we'll look at it again next week. As you know, the Super Bowl is going to be in Las Vegas. So if you're headed out there to Super Bowl, here's what the levels are. COVID at this time, medium, and it is flat and possibly starting to rise again. RSV, flat. The latest update does show it's trying to rise again. Same with influenza, which is still at high levels. Norovirus is still at high levels, though not as high as some of the other wastewater sites we've seen around the country. And Mpox is low at this time. Alrighty, folks, we will do some more wastewater update again tomorrow in tomorrow's update. We'll look at many more sites again tomorrow. We're going to spread this throughout the week, and hopefully on Sunday, maybe we'll get back to our regular wastewater update. All right, taking a look here, JN.1, it's the leading variant at 93.1%, and I do have some good news. I gotta throw some good news in there. Take a look at the latest EMS incidents in Philadelphia from Sunday now. 685. That's the lowest level we have seen in quite some time. That's some really good news. Hopefully that can continue today. But taking a look here, Montgomery County, there are some calls right now. Not a lot of calls, just 11. But let's see, is Chester County still really busy? Right before I started recording this, Chester County was busy. Okay, it's not as busy. There were a ton of calls about 20 minutes ago where there were some multiple cardiac arrests still, though. Sick person falls, fall, lift assist, respiratory difficulty, heart problems, another heart problem, overdose, sick person, yeah, it's still pretty busy, but earlier it was over 15 calls, which for Chester County, that's pretty high, because Chester County, their maximum, as high as they would get, would always usually be lower than Montgomery County. So, yeah, that's not good to see, and this is also not good. Come on, New Jersey. Only 31 out of 70 hospitals reported today. Is it even worth sharing these numbers? That totals up to 431 hospitalizations. We're not even going to look at the rest of those numbers. Taking a look at New York State, the most recent update from New York State, I have to refresh this because I don't think that is a correct number. Yeah, the latest number from New York State was 2,090 people tested positive. And let's see here. Are the hospitalizations that I have here correct? Let's refresh them to make sure. And the good news is, yep, I can already tell from here. The good news is hospitalizations in New York State continue to drop. 1,909, and I think by later in this week, they'll drop below 1,900, easily below 1,900. So that is some good news. Alrighty, folks, I know it was a very long pandemic update today, but there were a lot of things I wanted to show you. There were a lot of important points that I wanted to make. If you have learned anything today, give this a thumbs up. If you enjoy seeing this type of content, subscribe to my channel down below. And of course, share this with anyone you think who needs to see this, which is pretty much just about everybody, because everyone needs to know how dangerous things are still, and that there are still as many deaths as there are. Over 2,500 COVID deaths this week. Man, that number still gets to me. That's just totally ridiculous. That still qualifies this as a pandemic. Alright, I'll see you all again next time. Remember, share this with anyone. Our goal is 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year to help keep people safe and informed. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Monday afternoon. Thanks for watching.